Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, 52% of the population have to be regularly reminded not to put shiny metal things into a plug socket. And we say that health and safety gone mad. Junior doctors are back on strike, and I believe today kicks off a 6-day strike for the junior doctors. And straight away, the media and the politicians have got the knives out and they're blaming the junior doctors for all that is going wrong within the NHS, for the waiting lists and people dying because they're waiting on the waiting list for so long that they're given the opportunity to die before they get treatment. When the Tories took over the NHS in 2010, the satisfaction was at the highest level it's ever been. 96% of people used to get through within the 4-hour span. And if you didn't get through within the 4 hours, they'd more than likely be inviting you to stay for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, maybe 6 months. They'd be inviting you to stay for. But 96% of the people used to get through within the 4 hours. They scrapped that. I can remember a few years back, they just scrapped those targets because, when they came in and they started with their austerity measures, the NHS has got a lot of things around it that it needs to function. One of them being social care. When you're talking about, they've completely ruined social care in this country as well. So that makes, that gives you the thing, what they call it, the bed blockers, where people cannot be released back into the, into the general public general population, because they haven't got no care. So therefore, it's too difficult to release them out. So they just stay in the hospital. So so they have that major problem. That was a major problem, and why we had such a bad time with COVID. So the Tories, all the way through, they've come through and they've completely destroyed the service. Right? We've gone from it being one of the best in the world to more than likely, I suppose, definitely in the Western world, one of the worst in the Western world for definite. I'd say probably the worst in the Western world at the moment, and that's the reason why we've got so many doctors and nurses who are fleeing, leaving this country to go and work in other countries because where the conditions are much better. Because that's another reason why the doctors, the junior doctors, are striking, because of the conditions. And then obviously they've got their cost of living. They've got their cost of living as well, because their housing costs have rapidly gone up. We charge them to park their vehicles when they go to work. They've just got a monthly charge what they have to pay. And from the other day, what I was hearing is, even if they're on holiday or whatever, they still have to pay that monthly charge. So whatever days it is, the monthly charge just comes out of their money. And so that's the type of thing. I mean, that is the type of thing what is going on, right, for the junior doctors. The housing in this country, obviously, the housing has just gone completely crazy. It would be what would be a thing where I should be the Prime Minister for 1 minute, because this is what I would do. I would make sure that people who are on the minimum wage can buy a house. So really, you would need to have houses and flats built, right, that people who are on the minimum wage can afford, which will be affordable housing. So it should be 3 or 4 times what the minimum wage is. That's where your house prices should really start, and that's what the government should be doing. But no. So so with the junior doctors now, you've got the housing, and then you've got your the conditions what they have to work in, lack of equipment, right? People dying all over the place. All the corridors are filled up. You've got cupboards filled. People sleeping in cupboards. People sleeping on the floors in waiting rooms. Right? People in ambulances outside. For 8, 9 hours, 10 hours in an ambulance. And and now you've got so much people who are just saying, I'm not going to, I'm not going to train to be a doctor. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to work within that. And then you've got so much of them who are just going through the training, who within 2 or 3 or 4 years, they're gone. Just like, you know what, I'm not staying here. And this country can't attract doctors and that to come here. They're going to find it very, very difficult to attract them to come here. Very, very difficult. So that's another thing that's not going to happen. So, you know, and then obviously, their wages as well. You know, politicians can award themselves what junior doctors can only dream of making. And if the politicians was making the money what the junior doctors was making, right, they would go up in a helicopter and they'd fling themselves out and they'd slit their throat on the way down and say, I can't work for that shit. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me. A special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages, I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages if definitely. I'm going straight over to America because Donald Trump, it looks like he might face some Maine justice, boy, because that's how they speak in Maine. There's just some Maine justice, boy. Donald Trump has been banned in Maine from standing as the candidate to be the president because, you know, they've just followed what Colorado has have done, and I believe that's the right thing to do. You know, obviously, that, you know, this amendment is going to be challenged. Donald Trump is actually challenging this one in the District of Maine, and so in the state of Maine, he's actually challenging it there. So we're going to see now whether or not, you know, because I'm surprised that he hasn't just gone to the Supreme Court, because, you know, that's where, you know, I think he's gone with the Colorado one. He's gone straight to the Supreme Court. So this one he's going to try and challenge in Maine. I don't really think it's going to do him any good because the law is pretty clear, even though it's very loose, the way how they've written the amendment. Very, very loose. But, you know, it's pretty plain. Lawyers are going to have a lot of fun with it, you know, trying to get him out of it. But so far, the only one they've come with is, you know, Donald Trump is not an officer of the state or whatever. That's the one that they've tried to come with and say, well, I would have thought that he was an officer of 50 states. You know, and, you know, I think they're just trying to say that he never signed, you know, there was an oath or something that he never signed, so therefore the amendment doesn't apply to presidents. You know, it only applies to, like, state officials and things like that, maybe congressmen and senators, and your local senators and local congressmen. Those are the people who they probably think it applies to. We'll move back over to the UK. You know, we've had an absolutely horrific murder. You know, a young lady this time, just absolutely horrific, where, you know, she murdered her boyfriend. I think these are quite young people. I think she might have been a student. And her boyfriend was messing about, like chatting up another girl or whatever, just messing about. Apparently, just messing about. But she didn't take it as messing about. Right? And she really turned into an absolute demon. Drove into him with her car, reversed back, and then drove over him, right, carrying him 150 yards underneath the car. The judge has said to her, listen, you're probably never going to see the light of day again, right? Because this is absolutely, what you've done is absolutely horrific. You know, if you could imagine that, because he probably, when she hit him with the car, he probably was so shocked, couldn't probably believe what had happened. You know, didn't realise that he was with a real she-devil, right? Someone who would murder. You know, I just think that these two probably had the type of relationship that was probably very fiery. You know, the type of relationship, everybody knows these type of people, right, where they shouldn't keep getting back together, because you just say, you know what, one day these two are going to kill each other. And yeah, she's ended up murdering this guy. Very, very, very sad. And then yesterday we had Storm Hank. Now, I don't know if it's Storm Hank or Storm Hink, because that's Hank as in Marvin or Hink as in Batfink, right? So I don't know which one it is, right? Because I couldn't understand the woman when she was saying it on the telly this morning. But she was, it was either Storm Hank or Storm Hink. So, but it was absolutely terrible. I don't know if you saw, like, you know, I saw some really terrible scenes. I think a couple of people died because of trees hitting their cars. And then I saw one, yeah, where there was this car. It was underneath a bridge because someone, right, had managed to get put a strap around. You know, like the straps what lorry drivers use to put over their load. Get one of those straps, right, and strap round the bridge, right, and then in the car, right, to stop the car from and it was like a fast running river as well. So, I don't know, I'm sure the people in it must have got out, but the police are calling this guy an absolute hero. But that was some real quick thinking, and luckily he must have been walking past and had an available strap with him. Some heads in the NHS are earning £300,000. And now you see, the thing is, right, a lot of these people work within the hospitals, and I guarantee you those people, right, are working, a nice 9 to 5, or maybe even less hours than that, right, and probably no weekends, right, Christmas off and Easter off and all them things there, and just watching the junior doctors and just thinking to yourself, God, you people are so stupid. How are you working for that rubbish money, right? And I'm earning 300 grand, and you're busting your back, and you've got to go through all the bullshit that you've got to go through. How the hell have we got people in the NHS that are earning 300 grand, right? And they can't afford to pay the junior doctors properly? Why is anybody in the NHS, unless they're a consultant, and they deserve whatever we're paying them, right, is probably not enough, right? Unless you're saying to me that you can do an eye operation or you can do a heart transplant. No? Then whatever we're paying them is probably not enough, right? So unless it's, unless they're consultant, but these are the people that, work in the offices in the NHS, because, thing is, right, in this country, right, we know who deserves the real money, to get the real cash, and that is footballers. Right? because the thing is, right, if you need an eye operation or you need to eat your knee fixed, right, who are you going to call? A footballer, or are you going to call a doctor, a surgeon, to do that for you? And you say, well, who should be? No, footballers. Some of them up to 500 grand a week. So that's who we look at, and then you've got all of the TV pundits and all those people who will talk the junior doctors down, will talk the nurses down, and anybody else who rears their head, any working class people who are earning, whether it's the train drivers or so. Why is it that they're getting so much money? Why do they get so much money? And you've got those, them, right, for presenting a TV program. Right, a lot of them, right, haven't got no transferable skills to take to another country or anything like that. Right, a lot of them haven't got those. Right, but yet for all, those are the people who are paid highly. Just like these people who are getting £300,000 within the NHS. Why is it that we're giving anybody £300,000 unless they're one of our very special consultants, surgeons? Why? It's a real shame. Israel have killed a Hamas deputy leader in Beirut. So it might well escalate things a bit more. But, this is what Israel have always done. Right? They have always had the ability to just bomb all the countries that are around them, because they are a superpower who have been placed in the middle of all of the Arabs, placed, some say, back in a zone that they was in before, but they would have known, and then right, to place them there, and then just give them more weapons than all of everybody around them, so that they literally can have a war with everybody around them at the same time. That's how good they are. And then remember, that every person in Israel has to join the army as well. So they all have to have they all have to have experience with weapons and everything else. So they all have to sign up, because I think they've got a national Well, the national things where they have to sign up, or all of them. So I think even people who are born in this country have to go to Israel, right, and join the army for a while. So so virtually everybody in the country is a reservist, is a soldier. Everybody, women and men, and they'll tell you about the Palestinians are brought up to hate the Israelis. That's what they say, right? Say, well, aren't you also brought up to hate them? Israel will tell you, they keep on telling us that Hamas wants to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Hamas do not have the ability to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. They might want to do that, they haven't got the ability. But then again, Israel do have the ability to wipe the Palestinians off the face of the earth, which is the reason why the Palestinians, Hamas can kill 1,200 people, and Israel can go and just kill over 20,000 just like that, with no one that can really fight back, no one who can do, because the Palestinians cannot defend themselves against Israel, and now Israel have taken this war into Lebanon, so into Beirut. They've taken this war into Beirut. So whether or not they're going to start drawing more of the region around there into this war, I think that could well be a thing that actually happens. But it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing with Israel, right? Assassinating leaders of whether they're PLO or whether they're Hamas. Doesn't really matter. They've been doing it from ever since. It's been 8 decades now that Israel have been committing an apartheid, and now we've moved over to genocide, and now they're trying to involve the Lebanese, Hezbollah. They're trying to provoke them into a war as well. Rishi Sunak has been begging Dominic Cummings for help. This man is really pathetic. He's actually gone to the demon, to the devil, to ask him for help. No one goes, the worst person you can go to is Dominic Cummings, and and then expect it to stay quiet. Of course, that Dominic Cummings is going to use that to his advantage, right? But Rishi Sunak thinks that going to Dominic Cummings, a man who was too toxic for Boris Johnson, and that's who Rishi Sunak's gone to. And we've got one Brexit story. We're going to start it by saying hard cheese. Britain has been negotiating with those darn Canadians, and obviously after Brexit, and Boris Johnson said, "Listen, don't worry," to the cheesemakers, everything's going to be cool because I'm going to get you in over there tariff-free. So Britain have been negotiating a tariff-free deal with the Canadians, but the Canadians have said no. We're going to put a 245% on your Stilton, on your Wensleydale, and on your what's another Stilton, Wensleydale, cheddar. We're going to put massive tariffs on them of 245%. And you know why that is? Because the Canadians want to protect their own cheese market. So the British have said, "Oh no, I'll tell you what we'll do. No, I'll tell you what we'll do. For now, we will stick with the DU. We'll come on the back of the EU deal that we already had with you, and we'll just keep it at that." Yeah. And the Canadians have said no. I don't know why they sound French all of a sudden, but that's what they've said. No. So they've said no. They're not going to do that, because you see the thing is, right, they said some politicians do actually look after the people in their own country. They look out for them to make sure that that you haven't got other people coming from other parts of the world and just completely destroy their own market. This country, however, does not do that, right? This is the reason why now the Canadians can just say no, you can't do that. And we're going to put 245% tariff on your cheeses. So because they've more than likely got their own You know, those three brands, they've more than likely got their own people who make it within Canada. It's just called something different. But you know, it's more than likely going to be exactly the same as Stilton, the same as cheddar. You just can't call it cheddar because, you know, you have to be from the cheddar region. Even though now, I believe after us leaving the EU, it gives countries, you know, if the countries want to call the cheese what they're producing cheddar, I don't really think there's that much we can actually do about it anymore. I think when we was attached to the EU, there was a lot more we could have done about it, but I don't think there's anything we can really do about it now. So you can have, I think you can have, you know, they can produce cheddar in places like France and that, and they could just sell it within the EU, and, you know, there's nothing we can do about it because we're not in the EU, so we couldn't stop someone from selling Wensleydale within the EU, someone making it somewhere completely different. We couldn't stop them from doing it because we're not part of that anymore. We could have before, when we was in there, we could have said, no, well, you can't produce that. You can't produce that. You know, it's like, you know, trying to produce Scotch somewhere else. No, you have to call it bourbon. Anyway, my friends, I have to bow out of here. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm VMC John Ribs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.